Hello, everybody. This is Tezlyn Figaro again with Tap In with Tezlyn Figaro. Thank you so much for joining me. I have Michelle Watley again. You're going to see her more and more. I don't know if that's because I can't get rid of her, she can't get rid of me, or there's some unhealthy balance, or just
It's probably all of the above. That's a check all of the above box there, I think.
but I think we make great TV. I think we make great commentary. We certainly have a good time on the phone. And this is truly how we talk. I mean, really just how we talk when we sort out things. And so she's one of my favorite people to have on the show. And I thought it was important to get to know Michelle a little bit. You know, I've done an introduction with you, I guess 2 or 3 shows back, but never really had a chance to unpack what you do and, all the awesome things. So I said, I wanted to yield the floor to you this week to be able to just kind of tell us about a little bit about Shirley's Kitchen Cabinet and what you have going on. So take it away, Michelle. Tell me about Michelle Watley and all the awesome things.
Oh, I'm honored to be at this table and have this platform, even if it is just to talk about the work that I've been blessed to do and blessed to do in coordination with you a lot of the time. So thank you for this opportunity. I'm from Kansas City, originally born and raised, and came to start Shirley's Kitchen Cabinet, which is a nonpartisan nonprofit named for the one and only Shirley Chisholm. We're based in Kansas and Missouri, and our mission is to essentially train and educate Black women on the tactics of advocacy so that they can be better advocates for the issues that matter to them and the communities they serve. And so I started that organization after working on the campaign trail in 2016, which is where I met you, Tezlyn, when we were
Where I
both
changed
working.
your life, by the way. Excuse me. I just want to say
Where
where I
you changed,
I
look,
mean,
where you
in such
changed
a
my
major
whole
way.
life.
Right.
In a whole shift, for good or for better or for worse. My life is poignantly different from having been introduced to you. And, I'll just aside, even my political lens and political perspective has been sharpened from my engagement with you and learning from you, listening to you, how I communicate, how do we nail down the issues, and how do we hold people's feet to the fire? And as you love to say, push the line. And the straight shot, no chaser, you got that down pat. I got some work to get there. And you got that regardless. But because of you, again, my political perspective has also shifted in a way that allows me to better articulate what my passion is and what I want to see for Black folks, which is why I do the work that I do. In meeting you in 2016, we both worked for the Sanders campaign, and I think Senator Sanders is about as far left as we're going to see in this generation, or that I've seen. When we talk about the political partisan spectrum. Being from Missouri after completing the Sanders campaign in June of 2016, I came back to Missouri and served as a senior staffer for a gubernatorial candidate that was running in Missouri. And he had been a former Republican and in Republican leadership before switching his party over to Democrat, and ran in 2016 for governor. Both candidates lost handedly during the Trump wave. And I found myself at the end of that cycle depleted and frustrated for one main reason. Whether I was working for somebody that was very far left or for a candidate that had been a former Republican and was pretty much, still a Republican with a D behind his name. What I saw across both campaigns was a disregard for the contributions and civic engagement of Black people. Whether it be being on the campaign and having to fight tooth and nail for every dollar to reach Black voters, to try to convince candidates what the issues were for Black people and how to speak to those issues, the challenges that come with trying to challenge your candidates into understanding where their platform stances are lacking for Black people, working with these campaigns to ensure that they don't take advantage of our people in their pursuit for higher office. I just found myself depleted, and it didn't matter if I was working for this super liberal left candidate or one that was super right. They both had a disregard for the contributions of Black people. And so that was what prompted me to start Shirley's Kitchen Cabinet. You look like you're about to ask me a question, Tezlyn.
Yeah, I did. I don't want you to lose your train of thought. So if you want to write it down, like what's the next thing, but I do want to go back and unpack a little bit, because I want the people to know what you mean when you say how we have to fight for dollars and why they don't hear our voices, like, really what that is. Let's go ahead and spill a little tea, if you will, about like what that really means. You know, people assume that because they see us working on a campaign that, you know, all is well and we're all on the same page, not realizing that most of the time that we're on a campaign, or let's just call it what it is. We were on the Bernie Sanders campaign. That was not an experience that you just would assume that, oh, you're on the campaign and everybody's on the same page and everybody agrees. You know, most of that time was really fighting for voice. And I know people don't get that. They assume because they see you there and they see the black face or see whatever it is, that okay, yeah, they're being hurt. People don't really realize like what happens behind the scenes. That a lot of times you really are expected to just be in the room and be quiet, and the level of disrespect to the Black community or even to the Black staffers has always been something, as you know, that I will never forget that experience. And I will never let the people that I witness treat us in certain ways. I'll never let them off the hook for that. And I've always, as you know, been a big believer in exposing that, and have exposed that. Will continue to expose that, because people really need to know what happens behind the scenes. So I just wanted to unpack that a little bit on your experience on whether you're talking about Bernie Sanders or anybody, when you're saying fighting for, you know, Black dollars. I know what you mean, but explain just kind of an example on, you know, typical budget and what that looks like and how you have to convince and where that money goes and so forth.
Yeah, I think you have to fight for resources and dollars. You have to fight for voice, and you have to even fight for or defend your credibility when you're giving insight and advice and expertise to these campaigns. And that doesn't only just come from the candidates themselves, that often comes from the staffers and volunteers. One of my first experiences with the Sanders campaign, and Tezlyn, you may remember this, is driving to Iowa to one of the main rallies and walking up to the check-in desk in a full suit, mind you. This is a major rally. This is a Sanders rally. These rallies typically have thousands and thousands of people dressed informally in jeans and t-shirts. But I arrived to the event in pumps and a skirt and a suit jacket and a full face of makeup. So clearly visibly dressed as a professional, to only walk up to the check-in office, which is one of my first experiences on the campaign, and then be asked, are you a volunteer? And then to only answer the question, say, no, I'm staff, and then have to fight to prove that I'm staff, and then have to, and Tez, you're welcome to chime in on this, because I know you might remember this event, but I want you to be able to tell it how you remember it. But then being, after confirmed that I was staff, and not only staff, but national staff, being handed a volunteer placard to walk around the building with. Now, it doesn't seem like a big deal on the surface. And this is where, you know, Tezlyn has come in and changed my thinking around things. It doesn't seem like a big deal on the surface. I proved I'm a staff person. I'll just walk around with this volunteer tag. People know that I'm a staff person who need to know, so it's not a big deal. And I was, you know, challenged to get the placard that was needed to make sure that there were no additional issues down the road, and asked staff, we should have had those placards available. And so that seems like a small situation, but when you're clearly showing up as a professional, showing up as national staff, I still had to prove who I was, that I belong there, and even then was given, you know, the tools that weren't needed or weren't for me at that moment. That is just one small of many examples. I have encountered Bernie supporters who have, you know, I remember one time I was working in, I think, Kansas, and was parked in an alleyway, and this white guy thought, you know, he should be able to come through the alleyway. Long story short, he's yelling at me, he's cussing me out. I'm all kinds of black bitches, and I'm sorry, I don't know if we can cuss. Hopefully, okay, black bitches and all these other things. Okay, I figure as much, but I just want to be sure. Only to then look at the back of his truck as he's pulling off, and he's a whole Bernie supporter. He's got all these Bernie, you know, bumper stickers, but that didn't stop him from using racist epithets and all kinds of things when he thought I was in his way. Those are very small examples of even just with volunteers and staff having with volunteers having to prove your credibility. But when we talk about dollars, the Sanders campaign, these gubernatorial races, these statewide campaigns, these congressional campaigns, these are multi-million-dollar, and in the case of these presidential campaigns, billion-dollar with a B races. And I know that if you were to look at the budget of money spent on African-American outreach, it doesn't even match up to the percentage of African-American voters that are in the districts that these candidates are trying to target. And so when I talk about fighting for budget, I have had to argue with campaign managers and senior staff on both the presidential campaign and the gubernatorial campaign to get $50 for a radio ad in Black radio, to get $1,500 for a newspaper ad, to get $500 to repay volunteers and staff who with their own money bought campaign literature and materials with the expectation that they would be reimbursed. And so when you look at $1 billion campaign and I'm sitting around, I have to argue and plead my case for why we need $50, that's a problem. I think that I was fortunate and able to, in a lot of ways, make the case and get the budgets that were needed, but just the time spent in trying to convince leadership that this is important, that, you know, if Senator Sanders is going to make inroads in the Black community, he's got to talk to the Black community. He's got to come to Black events. He's got to meet with Black leaders. To continually have to have that fight and that argument, it takes away time and resources for me as an expert in what I do to be able to move the campaign forward. And I think the adage of what's important to you is where you put your money, or, you know, put your money where your mouth is, rings true in campaigns. And so moving forward, you know, I always look at a campaign budget and see and look for a couple of things. Who are you spending money with? Are you spending money with Black vendors and Black consultants? And where are you spending that money? And when that money doesn't match the outreach needed for you to win a campaign, to me, that tells me a lot about not only the candidate when they're running for office, but is a telltale sign for how they will govern. If your candidate or a campaign doesn't have Black staff, they've not hired Black consultants, they're not going to do that when they get elected. And oftentimes the budget is predicated on what was spent in the last cycle. My salary has been determined by what they spent on the last African-American political director. And if that political director didn't get paid what they were due for the work that they do, because understand this, when you're a Black consultant or a Black staffer, you have to be twice as good to get half of what they get. And what that means for us is not only do I have to be able to do outreach and political strategy in rural areas with labor, with women, I have to be able to bring that same strategy to the African-American community. And that is not insight and expertise that most consultants have. White consultants don't know nothing about the Black community. They're not forced to learn anything about the Black community. They don't even have to engage. They will write a strategy that allows them to not have to engage with the Black community. But if I'm brought on a campaign, I have to be able to do everything they can do and be able to talk to the Black community, know where the churches are, know who the preachers are, know where the newspapers and radio stations that Black people listen to are, and know the issues. And that's an additional benefit that no one else has to have.
Yeah, and vouch for the candidate, because see, when you're organizing within our community, it's not a matter of, you know, just passing out a piece of literature. They expect an expectation that if you are standing there as a Black woman, I am expecting this human being, this candidate that you have no control over. I can't control ultimately what he's going to do. But if he doesn't do what he says he's going to do, or they say something out of pocket, they're literally holding me responsible for that. Michelle, you a sellout because you allowed this to happen. Are you like, and not even realizing I had no voice or no say in it at all. They don't even take me serious. And how do you communicate that to a community? Hey, I'm working for this person who don't take me serious. So they don't take me serious. They damn sure ain't taking the community serious. But you, the Black staffer, begins to have more, and this is where I'm very different, as you know. They care more about the candidate winning than the candidate do. See, for me, how you show me how you feel, I'm cool with it. You don't want to rock with me, I don't want to rock with you. I'm not going to care more about this than you do. Once you show me where you are with us, we're just going to go ahead and ride it out like that. Because there's one thing if you're just misinformed and you don't know and you're just confused. And there's another thing when there's a deliberate attempt where we can see the numbers, we can see the money being spent on other demographics. We're literally telling you, we're begging you, we're pleading, we're making the case, and you're literally making a very intentional choice to not give in at all because of your assumption that either Black people are going to vote for you anyway because you're Democrat, or because they see a Black face and that's going to be more than enough, Or, hey, I'm just keeping you around because I need to be able to say I hired Black people. Or, hey,
Yes.
I haven't even counted on that group at all. I had pretty much depended on all these other groups, and I'm just doing it
Yes.
just because. And so
Yes. And
all
all
of,
of the, sorry, go ahead, Tezlyn.
yeah, I was just saying all of those things as consultants and staffers, we wrestle, well, not all of us, but a lot of us who are really trying to do it for the right reason, wrestle with that really tough. The constant back and forth of, I need to do it because I know ultimately these policies are going to benefit my community. So let me just go ahead and take this. It's almost like the slave. They got to get beat or whatever to prevent somebody else from having to go through it. I'll just take it
Yeah.
because I know it's the right thing to do. But it's a cycle of abuse that happens over and over and over because we're not demanding anything out of that. And so for people listening, I want you to know why, because Black consultancy, this has been bubbling up for a minute and it's getting louder and louder and louder. So the reason why you're not seeing as much get out to vote, or and again, Black people still, just for the record, overwhelmingly vote more than anybody, overwhelmingly Democrat. You know, it's if you lose a campaign, it's not because of Black people. Let's put that out there. But I do want people
And
to
that's
know.
Black men and Black women, to be
That's
clear.
correct. That's correct. But I want people to know why this conversation is bubbling up and why the efforts of not giving a damn whether y'all get Black people to vote for you or not, where it's coming from, because even the consultants will say, get somebody else to do it. You don't think we're valued enough? Get somebody else to do it.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. And so that is those are just a few of the experiences. You know, you and I have experienced issues with Secret Service and trying to, you know, even with surrogates, people who have signed up on the campaign, celebrities who have signed up to support and endorse and be an ambassador for these candidates have issues with Secret Service, and folks who are supposed to be a part of this team, as we are supposed to be the part of the team. And that's usually not the case. I think that I've been successful at being able to bring dollars and resources and to walk that tightrope of bringing those resources without it being at the expense of my community or selling out, for that matter. But like you said, at some point, it's got to be get somebody else to do it, because I can't convince you. You know, you these campaigns and candidates will take L after L after L and not think that they need to change their strategy or bring in new voices or think about the approach differently. I think this is probably political campaigning is probably one of the only professions where you can lose regularly and still be highly paid and still get a job if you're a white consultant, to be clear. Your political directors, your field directors, which are roles that are typically held by Black operatives, are cycled out every season, every election. You know, you'll have a candidate that'll run 3 and 4 times for Congress. They'll have the same campaign manager, they'll have the same finance director, but that field director, if they were Black, may be a different person during the second or third or fourth campaign. The political director, which is a senior role and may be Black, may be a different person the third and fourth, you know, campaign down the road. And so, yeah, in short, you know, that's what we're talking about: getting the access to resources needed to be effective operatives, but to also bring in the voters that these candidates claim that they want to have, but aren't putting the resources behind to court and to get to come out for them.
And where I'm at with it, I'm fine with it. I'm totally fine with it. If you're not interested in me, I'm not interested in you at this point. So that's unfortunate because ultimately it hurts, you know, I think it hurts the community, but I think it's your point of being reflective of how they govern. It's the same thing because they don't give a damn on the front end. So they definitely don't care about the back end. So I just try to find other ways to serve, other ways outside of that to say, I'm doing my part. So even though this candidate don't get it, even though they don't respect it, I'm still gonna do my part and do X, Y, Z. And that's just kind of where I'm at with it. Like begging for you to understand the importance of Black media, begging for you to, even if you just putting the money out there just because, you know, I won't get into any, you know, name calling, but you know, I've had some conversations with you about some clients where I'm like, even if you don't think it's worth it, you should just be paying for it regardless. That should just be a part of your budget and not looked upon as charity. And that's pretty much, you know, what it's been. And so that level of frustration that has trickled down to the voter, and why you see voters, you know, not as excited, you know, as they used to be. It takes operatives to get people excited, folks. So if you don't have people out there who are getting people excited and have the necessary conversations, then that's the result. So I didn't want
just to add real quick, Tezlyn, it's not a partisan issue. It's not an issue of, you know, Democrats neglecting Black voters or otherwise, because where it's difficult to get Democrat candidates or campaigns to spend on Black voters, their base, essentially, their most loyal base, their most active base, What they do on the other side of the partisan spectrum is they'll spend the money. You'll hear radio ads, you'll see paper ads, you'll see, you know, billboards, you'll
Oh,
see
for Black
all of
people?
that to get Black voters to stay home,
Oh,
not
to
to
stay
join
home.
the
Okay, I want to make
Republican
sure we're clear
Party,
about
not
that.
to vote
Okay.
for their candidate, but to
Oh,
get them to stay home and to wean off the share of the Democrat
yeah,
Black
I got
voters
you.
who vote for the
I want to
Democrat.
make sure that didn't fly. Oh, because I didn't catch that part. You just, okay, got you.
Yes, so Republican candidates and campaigns will spend money. They'll spend money on Black operatives, but they won't spend the money to get you to come vote for them or to persuade you or show you why they are the better party or the better candidate. What they'll spend money on is to get you to sit down and to not come out and vote.
And that's a
And they'll
strategy
spend
worse. Well, they feel that strategy
yes,
favors them more because if the Republican Party's already been told that it's racist, is this, is that, well, I'm going to spend, I mean, it makes sense whether I like it or not. If I got to spend $3 per person, I'd rather spend $3 to incite, you know, the problems, to illuminate the problems that you guys already having, because I know you ain't coming over on my side anyway. So I might as
exactly.
well create chaos. And the Democrat Party, you're not trying to balance it out because you just feel like we're just gonna show up anyway. So this is where we are in 2024. And that's why you have people literally going to the poll. You know, I did a story about this morning. Like, this is not, there's always been more people stay at home than those who vote. So people who are saying, oh, people are going to stay at home, they've always stayed at home. That's nothing new.
Yes.
It's always been a small amount of people that win, and you got to get those people to go. What we're seeing now that is happening on the Democrat and Republican side across the board at every last one of these primaries is you are having people who are getting up, putting on their clothes, driving down to the voting booth, waiting in line just to check. I don't want neither one of you.
Uncommitted, yes.
Yeah, do y'all know what that means? Like, that's
Yes.
deep. I mean, it's not just, never mind, I'll just stay at home. No. They're going out their way. Or going out
Putting
there,
in effort, getting
yeah,
dressed, like you
yes.
said,
Like, I
driving
need
the
people to
car,
know, like,
spending gas money.
scheduling this, yeah, like I'm
Yes.
scheduling that, get somebody else to do it. Like, they are really,
Yeah.
and not even just that, even these third party long shot candidates, you know, knowing Nikki Haley doesn't have a chance, you still got several 100,000 people in every primary. Knowing that Marion Williamson don't have a chance, you still had 25,000 people showing up. Even though you know RFK don't have a chance, you still have 50,000 people showing up. DeSantis and got off the campaign a month ago and they still voted for him on last week in 2 and 3 different states. What is that telling y'all? Y'all not seeing this ain't working? So I just find it's just really interesting, you know, paying attention to the numbers and what it looks like and how it's going to unfold. And thank you for letting me kind of pause on that, because I thought there was some good information and that wasn't the goal of this call, you know, but I did want people to know, you know, like what that means, what a Black operative means. So before we close out, tell us a little bit about Shirley's Kitchen Cabinet, where I stopped you, just, you know, what you guys do quickly, and, you know, how your work, how now when you said, hey, I have to do something, what is that something, and how has that made you feel about politics as a whole as well?
Yeah, so when you even mentioned at this point, you've just decided that A, somebody else need to do it, get somebody else to do it, and B, I'm going to find another way to support, drive, impact policy for my community in other roles. That is why I started Shirley's Kitchen Cabinet. You know, I gained a wealth of experience working on these races and working with these candidates and seeing the numbers, the data, and how it works from the inside. And so in starting Shirley's Kitchen Cabinet, I've been able to take what I've learned, to take what I've seen, and bring it to those who, because one of the things that we always say in Shirley's Kitchen Cabinet is that we don't empower Black women or Black people. Black people have always been empowered. Black people will step up, we will march, we will do the work. It's never been a question of whether we have power that we're willing to wield or not. And when you use words like empower, there's an assumption that there's power not there that you have to give people. I don't believe, and we don't believe, that Black women or Black people need power per se in order to get what they need out of policy. Oftentimes we do the work and we just don't see the fruits of that labor. We do the work to get affirmative action passed as a policy to advance Black people, only to see that white women are the major beneficiary of affirmative action. We do the work to lead movements like Black Lives Matter and police brutality, but we don't often hear about the experience of Black women and brutality that they experience at the hands of police. Those stories often go beneath the rug unless somebody like Tezlyn Figaro in the Holtzclaw case beats the drum to bring it up and to bring it into national discourse. until, when it takes people doing things like that for our issues to be brought to the forefront. And so I wanted to bring what I've learned on the campaign trail to Black women who are already going to step up and go to school board meetings. They're already doing the work, but maybe they just don't know the right tactics, or they've not been given the information that they need so that they can make a small shift in their advocacy that could truly bring forth the fruits of their labor that they want to see.
Yeah, I like that. But I just want to, and it's not countering that mission. I think it's very important, but I want to name that you're talking about a specific group of people. Because
Yes.
there are people in the community that do need to be empowered, that have given up, that are disgruntled, that don't know they have power, that don't know their voices matter because they're never at the table. So I love that. But when I talk about push the line, I always say everybody does something different. And we know that there's not an absolute, that, I know that, we know there's not a monolithic. But I did want to, when you said, Black people don't need to be empowered, we're already doing it. Not everybody. Some people really sitting on their ass. Some people are sitting on their ass because they just want to sit on their ass. And some people are sitting on their ass and say, why would I get up? It don't make a difference. It never have made a difference. Why should I even try? So there is a baton that does have to get passed to certain people. And this is why, again, we must work in coordinated effort to know when to pass that ball. I may go talk to some people to say, you know what? You really do have a voice. I know you don't feel like you nothing. I know nobody told you that you could do this. I know whatever, but you do. And once I get them motivated up, then I flip them to Shirley's Kitchen Cabinet, where women are already doing the work, because everybody's not doing the work. Everybody's not doing the work. It's always a small group of people who are doing the work. So I just wanted to pin that, because as people listen to this, you need to know what level you need to get in at. Like they say, get in where you fit in. You need to know, what level am I at? Am I at I'm starting from the bottom, or I'm starting from the top, now I'm here, starting from the bottom, now I'm here. There are levels, because if you've never thought you had a voice, you're not motivated, you're disgruntled. You say, my very close best friend Spud, when I first started talking about politics, how can I talk to him about the importance of the First Step Act when he's doing 17 years as a first-time nonviolent offender? He wasn't empowered, not at all. He's had his complete freedom taken from him. He felt he was absolutely powerless. I certainly would if I had my freedom taken from me, never getting caught with dope, never getting caught with anything, just hearsay, and got 17 years of my life. So he's not empowered. Empowerment means, matter of fact, let's look up the definition while we're on here, because, I love words. And I want to make sure that
that we have the definition right. And while you look that up, I want to thank you for even raising that, because that's correct also. It's not everybody doing the work in our community. And I think you're right. There's some people who just ain't going to do it. They always going to sit on their ass. It is what it is.
there's some people that would love to do it, but just don't know.
Just don't know how.
And so that's why I like that spiel that you give, though, because I've heard it when you talk about Shirley's Kitchen. He's like, Black men don't need to be empowered. We already know we have power. We just don't see. I appreciate that, but I do. That is to a certain audience, a person like me, a person like you. That's not to a person if Spud was a female or somebody like that. Because when we look up the definition of empowerment, it says authority or power given to someone to do something. Authority and power, everybody is not born knowing they have authority. I know I have authority because I walk in God's purpose. A lot of people question their authority. You don't have to give me authority. Hey, Michelle, you're going to be now the such and such, such and such. Everybody doesn't have that. Or power given. Some people really need power. They have to be empowered. Michelle, I'm empowering you to do X, Y, Z. I am expecting this out of you. There is an expectation. A lot of people haven't been given that opportunity. So I want to be clear about where you fit in this, and that if you don't feel you're empowered, that you're not empowered, don't think that, well, why don't I feel empowered? It's okay to know why. And it's not because you just haven't seen the fruits of your labor. They've never worked at all. No, they just may not be operating in their full purpose. They may not understand even what their purpose is, or nobody's ever gave them a shot to at least try. So,
or sometimes what we've even found too is that women have been engaging in these activities just unknowingly. They don't know that going to a school board meeting to advocate, for your child's IEP or something like that.
Well, that means you have to empower them. So you have to empower them. And so when you're saying we don't need to be empowered, I'm not criticizing. I just want to put a pin, understand what we're saying. We don't need to be empowered. We've already been doing it. No, it says here that empowerment is the process of becoming stronger and more confident, especially in controlling one's life or one's own right. You and I do that for each other, and we do the work. But we always have to empower each other over and over. Michelle, you can do this. Michelle, you can do this. Michelle, you have the authority. Michelle, you have the right. You can do this. And you're the founder. So I want to be careful to make sure that we know we still have to empower each other, because we're the only ones that can give power to us, because they damn sure ain't giving it to us. So we want to make sure, that as you're having this conversation, which I know you do, you give them the motivation, but one of the things that people do that don't do well, they assume, they never check on their strong friends. They always think that, oh yeah, she's got it, she don't need to be empowered. Yeah, sometimes I do. Sometimes I do need to be, Michelle, you can do this. What do you mean? Why can't you run? Why can't you do this? These are real conversations that we've had. That's giving you the power, granting you the power like a fairy godmother saying, Michelle, boom, you can do this. And even leaders need that. So I think that's
They
important.
do. So as we go about our work, and we recognize that also. So as we go about our work, we do it in 3 ways. We provide training and education to build that confidence and understanding of how these things work. We also work to wield the collective power of Black women. So whenever we bring together Black women or even Black people in unison and collectivism to advocate, we do that as much as possible. And we do that by positioning Black women for seats at decision-making tables. So whether that's making sure all of our speakers, whenever possible, are Black women and Black experts, because they're not often positioned as experts. Whether it's getting Black women on boards and commissions, whether it's helping Black women in entrepreneurship, we've partnered with a 4-state regional chamber in the Midwest, a Black chamber, to build out policy and advocacy programming and training so that entrepreneurs can advocate for the policies that will help them grow and scale their businesses. Whether it's pairing with Black maternal health support and leaders to talk about how Black women can better advocate when they're talking to doctors about giving birth or issues with their child. Whether it's leading up the charge of having town halls to bring policy leaders together to talk about missing Black women. Recent expose was released that said that Missouri is the most dangerous place for Black women. Missouri has the highest rate of Black women homicides. Missouri and Kansas is a top state. They're both top states for human sex trafficking, and Black women and girls make up 40% of those that are sex trafficked. And so in Kansas and Missouri, we have some major issues impacting Black women and Black people. And so our goal is that by training and educating, positioning Black women as leaders and in decision-making positions, and bringing together Black women and Black people as a collective so that there's collective impact, that is the work that we do at Shirley's Kitchen Cabinet, to empower those who may need to be empowered, but to also make sure that those who are already out there doing the work
They still
are
need to
not
be empowered though. Yeah,
double time.
absolutely.
Not
Got
working double time. Say that again.
Gotcha. So, yeah, no, I was agreeing. So it's twofold then. I'm just
It's
saying you're doing a
twofold,
lot of
definitely.
empowerment, and I didn't want to minimize that. Because by saying,
Yes.
especially for the untrained ear,
Mhm.
so by saying, we don't need to be empowered, we just need to see the work, the result. No, we need to be empowered. I need to be empowered a lot, because nobody's going to give me the authority. I have to go take it. So
That's
sometimes,
right.
we need, no, Tezlyn, you can do this. You are, but and that's what that word means. Literally, it is granting you the power. And that might come through a God source. You've asked me, Tezlyn, how do you tap into that? Where does that come from? So that might be somebody tapping into a higher power source. It might be a friend who's saying, girl, you got this. Bottom line is,
Yeah.
we need to be empowered. And I didn't want to overlook that, but I understood what you meant. But I wanted the untrained ear to know that you are doing twofold. You are empowering people, letting them know that it is okay for them to assume their position. You're helping them get in that position, empowering them with the tools. And then for those who are already there, meaning once they're there, allowing them to continue to grow and build. So I want to thank you
Well,
for
that's what's great about our discussions, because people get to see in real time how you shaped and molded how I think and go about the work that I do. And this is just a good example of that, really breaking down what it means to be empowered and levels and how do we reach as many people as possible. So thank you for that tidbit.
Yeah, for sure. And that's us empowering each other. Like we gotta, because who's gonna come do it?
That's right.
Nobody's gonna come do it. Why would I want you to have more power? And then me,
That's
the opposition definitely don't want you to have power. So who's going to give it to us? If it's not,
That's
if
right.
I'm not giving it to you or vice versa, we're not going to get, and sometimes we just need it
You're not getting it from nowhere.
that we're not getting from anybody. So we have to know that, yes, I need it. Let us not see that goes into that strong Black woman. We can have another whole conversation about that. Strong Black women,
As we
strong,
should, yeah.
strong. We
Yeah.
don't need it. We don't need it. We got it. No, the hell we don't know. We need it. No, we need it. It's okay to be
That's
strong
right.
and still need it. You and I've had
Yes.
those conversations. So that's why
Yes.
I just wanted to drill on that word. I know what you meant, but I always want to make a point to say, as strong as we are and as much as we getting it done, and we just need to see the fruits of our life, you still need to be empowered. Somebody still, you got to get the power source. You got to plug into something. If not, you'll be depleted, whatever that is. And sometimes that might be me plugging into myself, me preaching to myself, you know,
That's it.
like the old
That's it.
gospel song, you know, encouraging myself. So that I'm empowering myself, you know, with that. So I want to thank you for the work that you do. I wanted to take this time out to make sure, because I know we usually just go straight to a topic, but I wanted people to know and at least get it on record about what you do at Cheryl's Kitchen Cabinet. I'm so very proud of you. And thank you for allowing me to empower you, and you empower me a lot. Sometimes empower me to not want to answer the phone, but it still counts as empowerment.
Empowerment is empowerment according to you, as long as the confidence is being built up, right?
I have the confidence. If I see you calling, I don't want to answer sometimes. That's still empowerment. Like, you absolutely gave me the empowerment to say, find somebody else to do it.
You say that, but we both know different. So
Girl, we don't know no different. There's
I'll empower
sometimes
you to have whatever theory you have about why you don't want to answer my phone call.
yeah, that's true empowerment. What do you mean we both know different? Yes, no, we both know that I may not always feel like fooling with you, like the other day.
Oh yeah, let's not talk. Oh, isn't it time to end? I think it's time to go. You're breaking up, Tez. Tezlyn, I can't hear you.
Oh my God. Before we get
there?
out here, Michelle, this is her real life tactic. She'll say, we're breaking up. She really does that in meetings for real, y'all. I watched her do it firsthand and tell a client, I'm sorry, you were breaking up. Can you repeat it? And it was clear as day. I was like, Michelle, you do know that person wasn't breaking up, because I heard exactly what they said. So that's her go-to, y'all.
Yeah, they may or may not have been breaking up. I just want to make sure we clarified, and you brought up the other day, and I think you started breaking up. It's time for us to go anyway. So you want to close this out? We don't need to talk about the other day.
Yeah, you empower me to close it out, okay? Well, I'm closing it out.
Back to you.
Yeah.
Back to you, Tezlyn.
Well, that's empowerment. You're giving me the power and authority to move forward. So, guys, thank you so much. I hope you learned a little bit about Cheryl's Kitchen Cat and more about our relationship. And this has just been a nice little journey for people to see like what this looks like in real time. Again, Michelle is a partner of mine, friend of mine. We actually lived together on the Bernie Sanders campaign, like literally in an Airbnb with a woman I never met before. And we met up like you would college dorm and just said, hey, we're going to get to know each other at the same time and work together all the same time. So you can only imagine. So we know each other quite well. And it's always been a bunch of fun, seriously. And we've been able to accomplish a lot together, and hope we continue to do that. And she really is a really good little baby sister sometimes. And let me be clear about baby, like, you're not a whole lot younger than me. I just also want to put that out there. I say baby sister just because, but I also don't want nobody thinking I'm in my 60s. So I think that's important. Nothing wrong with 60, but because I noticed you say that a lot, like baby sister, like you just hella young, but whatever. We'll talk about it another time. But the point is, or either you're extra young or I'm extra old, but I'm fine with it.
Neither of those is true. You're not extra old and I'm not extra young. We Black, so Black don't crack.
Okay.
And it is what it is. But it's been a blessing to have met you and work with you. And I'm just honored by all the things that you do, the way you stand up for our people, for injustice, unwaveringly. Like, you are the walking embodiment of what it means for people to be empowered by God.
Oh, wow.
And you are definitely that.
You must got something. Is this some makeup from the other day?
Maybe, but I say this often. I say this often.
Okay.
You are the literal walking embodiment of what it means for God to have had his hand over your life and to be guiding your steps. And it shows in the work that you do.
Oh, thank you, Michelle.
Thank you for all that you do for me and our community. Because like you said, we be taking the hard fight, doing the hard things day in and day out, whether you're empowered or not.
Yeah, no, and 9 times out of 10, not empowered. That's why I had to speak on it, because it's very few that are actually pushing or giving you that power. And, we'll talk about that later on, but, an interview that happened today, and I'm like, why aren't you in the interview? I don't have the 2 million followers that person has. So when I'm going to stand up, I got 2 million of their followers coming after me. I don't have that to combat that. So even though y'all saying, yeah, Tez, go get in the fight. Yeah. Okay, I'm the one taking all the hits. And I'm willing to do it. Like I said in the movie, I'm willing to die for the cause. But I need you to know what all comes with that. what all comes with
That's
this.
right.
Anyway, guys,
'Cause
thank
there's
you so
levels.
much. Yeah, thank you so much for tapping in with Tez. Hopefully, I told Michelle to keep this time as a standing time, which means not to, just so we're clear, not to book anything else during this time, even if she thinks, oh, I thought since we did it earlier, I didn't need to hold the time. So a standing time means to kind of always have this time open, whether you think we need it or not. So
I think you were breaking up again, but you know, we'll talk about that later too. Is it the tech guy? I think he's indicating he might be breaking up. So
yeah, okay. So I appreciate everybody tapping in with Tezlyn Figaro. We'll see you next week. Peace.